Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rewind number 32, TNA Slammiversary 2010. Cameron here, your host for today, once again, back for what should make for another fun show today. I've been looking forward to doing this one for quite some time. This is actually the first time I've ever seen this pay-per-view in 10 years. I remember getting it back then and watching it live, but it's been quite some time since I've seen it, so it'll be cool to revisit it 10 years later today. Before we get into the show, I'd like to take some time and run off some reminders. First being that if you haven't heard last week's Rewind number 31, WWE Great American Bash 2007, be sure to check that one out. It's not too late. Our Rewind shows, in particular, are never too late to listen to. I get, once the follow-up episode to like Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Impact, whatever you watch. I know once that comes, you may not find the need to listen to the pay-per-view recaps, which, of course, I'm not saying not to do. Please listen to all of our shows after the fact. Make sure you just listen to all of them. Make sure you listen to them. I don't want to tell you what to do, but you know what I mean. So I just mean feel free to check those out no matter what. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is no matter what, our Rewind shows are timeless. So when we do the rewinds, we're gonna go back to wrestling events of the past, such as like this show. Revisit them. Simple as that. If you once again haven't heard Rewind number 31, go ahead and give that a play. And in case you're unaware, this Tuesday, actually tomorrow, July 14th, will mark the one-year anniversary since the beginning of JNC Radio, with our first show taking place on that very date a year prior. So since July 14th is on a Tuesday, I'm going to take the time now and say on behalf of everyone here on the program, thank you to all the listeners out there and for the support we've received for our first year. This is something that I wanted to do for a while and was just waiting for the right time, the right people to do this with, and just the right resources to make it happen. And we got going with it in the summer of 2019. Fun times. And I do mean that when I say that I've enjoyed doing this for the past year. I'd also be lying if I said there hadn't been any challenges along the way too, because in the beginning we really weren't that consistent. Even now, every once in a while we'll have to switch things up. Like last week we ended up changing up the show. We were going to do midway through the week, or like when we were most recently going to do the King of the Ring 1998 pay-per-view for a Rewind show last month, and we ended up ultimately having to cancel that show. So things do happen. You have to sometimes make changes, but in the beginning we were super inconsistent. I remember we did the Extreme Rules 2019 pay-per-view as our first show, which I'm not going to lie, I thought all of us on there sounded pretty awkward, and going back and listening to it later, but it was our first show, so that's obviously understandable. But from that show to a month later with SummerSlam, we didn't have another show. And over the next couple of months, I remember there were some weeks in between we didn't even have any shows. It was kind of rough, but, it's just we're in the beginning, so we're just starting out. And then from, December all the way to, the end of February, we had sometimes, 2 shows a week, but we definitely have, we definitely had a stretch where we'd have at least one. So we were doing pretty good. Then there was that period from the end of February throughout March where we took a month off from the show. Why did we? There are many reasons why, but I don't want to necessarily get into it. But it was getting toward the end of the month in March, and it was just a couple weeks into quarantine, and the COVID-19 pandemic had basically just got going, and it was really picking up. So I'd say everyone else too, because I don't want to take all the credit, but I thought it would be best to bring back the show because not only were we bored, we thought it would just be a good time to bring it back also because with everything going on in the world, it would be nice if there was something for everyone else to just listen to during that difficult time. So we did in a big way. We came back with 4 shows that week. It was originally supposed to be 5, but once again, I guess that goes along with sometimes you got to change plans whether you like it or not. So we put together 3 WrestleMania rewinds. We did WrestleMania 21, 23, and 24. Then on top of that, we did our WrestleMania 36 review. So since then, it's just been, 16 weeks going strong to follow. And if we continue on the path we're on now, I see a bright future ahead. So once again, thank you guys for the support. It means a lot to me, and I hope you continue to support JNC Radio going forward. Coming up next week on the program, really this upcoming Sunday, we'll have our Impact Wrestling Slammiversary 2020 review and recap. That'll be one of 3 different shows that'll be coming your way. For that show, Slammiversary this year, we'll have Jordan Grace versus Deonna Purrazzo for the Knockouts Championship, and what I think will be a great match. Then we have Willie Mack versus Chris Bay for the X Division Championship. A Knockouts Gauntlet match to determine the number one contender for the Knockouts title, featuring Taya Valkyrie, Rosemary, Alicia Edwards, Kimberly, Havoc, Nevaeh, Tasha Steelz, Kiera Hogan, Susie, Kylie Ray, and Madison Rain. We have Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock versus Josh Alexander and Ethan Page the North for the Impact World Tag Team titles. A match that was added to the card this past Tuesday night, we have Tommy Dreamer versus Moose for Moose's TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And then in the main event, we have a four-way to crown the new Impact World Champion. It'll be Ace Austin versus Trey versus Eddie Edwards versus a mystery opponent to crown the new Impact World Champion. Of course, the Impact World Championship is currently vacant. And, I just am interested to see who that mystery opponent's going to be. Of course, I have ideas in my head of who I think it could be, and I think a lot of other people do as well, but I'm not going to go ahead and say it now only because, I guess I could, but I'm just not going to just because I don't want to sound like wrong it's just a prediction, but, we'll just see how it plays out. I also don't want to say it just because I don't want to be disappointed if it doesn't turn out to be who I think it could be. So, I'm looking forward to doing that one, and I'm looking forward to that one for many reasons, doing Slammiversary this year. One, just because Impact will be back on pay-per-view after 6 months. Originally, Rebellion was supposed to take place back in April, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, that event would have to be changed. Because Rebellion did happen, it just got turned into a 2-week special on Impact as opposed to airing in traditional pay-per-view format, which is also another reason why I look forward to this because, Impact's finally back on pay-per-view. So, I'm just really looking forward to that. And the other reason I look forward to it is because I just want to see who's coming to Impact, because they've been teasing the arrival of certain stars over the past month or so. There's been reports of who may be on their way to Impact. And also I look forward to it because they've been teasing that I guess they haven't been teasing. They've been teasing, but I guess they straight up said that a former world champion of the past will be there, at least one former world champion. So that'll be very interesting. So I really want to see who they've got coming there. And then Slammiversary this year will be on a Saturday night. So that's a little bit different. Usually Impact pay-per-views are kind of, like the WWE pay-per-views where they're on Sunday nights. But it's going to be on a Saturday night this time. So the following day at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, in place of the usual time for our Rewind shows, you'll be getting that show instead. Then on Monday, July 20th, we'll be bringing you the Horror Story at Extreme Rules review and recap. For that show, we have Dolph Ziggler versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. We have Bayley versus Nikki Cross for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Asuka versus Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's title. And then a few more matches have been added to the card this past week, including MVP versus Apollo Crews for the United States Championship. And then 2 matches I'm going to read off next. 2 I can't believe are actually real. One being Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus in a bar brawl. And Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins in an eye for an eye match, where I guess it's been confirmed by WWE themselves that it's going to be an eye for an eye, literally, where the only way to win is to knock your opponent's eye out. Oh, God. I don't know how they're going to pull that one off. That's a thing. It's like, you have Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins, and you got this feud and everything. It's like, can't they just go out there and just have a match? I get he took his eye out or whatever, but it's like, why did... I don't know, man. And then to top that off, we have Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt in a Wyatt swamp fight where the Universal title will not be on the line. So that's going to be another cinematic match or whatever. So I'm kind of over the cinematic wrestling matches with WWE. I did enjoy the Boneyard match. I thought that was absolutely great. I've said that many times before on the show, but that to me, that was the only one that was really that great though, because there's other ones there's the Firefly Funhouse match. I didn't like it as a match. I did see there's some entertainment, value to it. And it did work for some people, so I guess that was a success. And then there's the Money in the Bank match. They did cinematic style. Did the Chop and Gargano fight, and they did that cinematic style. They did the Adam Cole Velveteen Dream NXT title backlot brawl. That was cinematic style. And they've just really experimented with that, since the pandemic and everything, just trying to do something new, which I get, trying to think outside the box. But I think now at this point, it's just kind of become overkill. And it's like, they had that one big hit, and then since that went right, they just got to continue to follow up with everything else just being cinematic match or whatever, so, But that pay-per-view will be coming your way Sunday, July 19th, so our official review and recap will be coming your way Monday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So we'll have like a whole weekend of pro wrestling pay-per-views, which, that's something to be happy about and look forward to. Especially now during these uncertain times for many, but, even under normal circumstances, God, that's always something to look forward to, so... that'll be great. So we'll have our Slammiversary and Extreme Rules recaps coming for you on Sunday and Monday for July 19th and July 20th, but that's not all. Coming up on Tuesday, July 21st, we'll have a special bonus edition of Rewind. For that one, we'll be continuing our string of 2008 WWE pay-per-views with the Great American Bash. That show features CM Punk versus Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship, Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels, JBL versus John Cena in a parking lot brawl, and Triple H versus Edge for the WWE Championship in the main event. A show that originally wasn't scheduled to be part of our summer lineup for the month, but was added in as a late addition for you guys. And we look forward to doing that one as well. Then on Wednesday, July 22nd, it's not another show this time, but it is something in relation to the program, and that's the announcement for Part 3 of our summer lineup for the month of August. The final part to our summer lineup. We're, as of right now, working on putting that all together. I think we pretty much got it. Set, but we don't have anything confirmed yet. But once again, July 22nd. Look forward to that date because that's when you guys will find out what's coming up for August. Then finally, to close out the month of July, coming up on Sunday, the 26th, we'll have Rewind number 34, ECW Heatwave 1998, considered by many to be the greatest pay-per-view of all time for Extreme Championship Wrestling. That card features Taz versus Bam Bam Bigelow for the FTW Championship in a Falls Count Anywhere match. A 6-man tag team match between Spike Dudley, Tommy Dreamer, and the Sandman versus the Dudleys, Masato Tanaka versus Mike Awesome, and plenty more. Once again, Sunday, July 26th will be Rewind number 34. One more thing, just in case you're a new listener of the program, let's take the time and tell you all the great ways you can listen to JNC Radio. We're available on all top podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Podchaser, Google Podcasts, Deezer, Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcast from. We should be on there. If not, let us know, and we'll do our best to try and fix that. And if you happen to listen to us on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts, be sure to follow our pages on both platforms. If you're a Spotify user, follow the show on there. And if you're an Apple user, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts on there as well. Before we get into the show, let's take the time now and give a little backstory as to how this event all came to be. Slammiversary 8, or 2010, whichever you want to call it, would be the 6th pay-per-view event of the year for TNA Wrestling in 2010. Previously, with there being Genesis Against All Odds, Destination X, Lockdown, and Sacrifice, now we're here with Slammiversary. Man, I'm not going to lie. Actually, TNA had some pretty good pay-per-view names. Like, not all of them were the best, but the names were good. This was also during the time when TNA was running a 12 pay-per-view year schedule, somewhat in comparison to what WWE was doing. I say in comparison because that's basically what WWE was doing as well, except on some occasions WWE would actually run more than 12 a year. This 12 pay-per-view a year pay-per-view schedule was until 2013 when it was decided by TNA to run only a third of the pay-per-views they were going to do each year, with running 4 of them instead. A strategy which was believed to be for the better of the product in the long run, going with the theory of having less pay-per-views leading to higher buy rate numbers and added time in between the build-up to the events rather than always having to put together a show in like 4 weeks at a time. A strategy since then that they still go with, and also AEW has adopted as well. But getting back to Slammiversary 2010, the main event of the show was between Sting and Rob Van Dam for the TNA World title. It's actually kind of weird to think that this match actually happened. RVD at this time was the world champ for nearly 2 months and was only 3 months into his first run with the promotion. Actually, Sting would be Rob's first opponent in TNA, with Rob picking up the quick victory against him. Sting, on the other hand, was portraying a rather heel character at the time, which later would be revealed that he really, I guess, wasn't a heel because he was sticking up for the greater good of the company and it was being secretly taken over at the time. At the previous month's pay-per-view Sacrifice, both RVD and Sting would pick up wins on the show. Sting would defeat Jeff Jarrett in mere seconds after viciously assaulting him backstage prior to the match. Rob Van Dam would defeat AJ Styles and would retain the World Championship. So then on the May 20th edition of Impact, it was announced that Sting